anything that was out of the control of the agent to figure in whether their life was an excellent one or not. Another big question here is what constitutes real achievement? Do we want to say that all achievements add to the excellence of life, or only some do? Or at least some do more than others? Do we think that athletic achievement adds to the excellence of life as much as achievement in mastering theoretical physics, or finding a cure for some disease, or some other way of relieving human suffering? The Socratic philosophers usually said that only those achievements which made particularly skillful use of our capacities for thinking, deliberating, and using our rational faculty can be counted as adding to the excellence of life. And in fact, they would say that one of the primary ways in which we can use our reason is by exercising this art of living well, right? So it's a strange art in that a good part of the object of the art is its own exercise. The person who habitually lets their reason direct their life exhibits arete in Greek. That is excellence of character. Courage and moderation are prime examples of excellences of character. Is it sufficient to live an excellent life that one just have these excellences, the arete of the Greeks, the excellences of character, and exercises them? Is that sufficient? Well, I'll give you two other lives and then I'll close. You're to ask yourself whether both these lives are excellent, neither are, or only one. Marjorie has deep feelings of affection for her friends and much heartfelt sympathy for people who are suffering generally. She acts more or less spontaneously on these feelings, helping her friends when they are needy and being active in charitable organizations. But she does not give much thought to these activities. As she says, "I let my heart tell me what to do." And there's Paul. Paul also has friends, but he thinks a great deal about how he treats them. He distrusts feelings of affection and feelings of pity which arise in him at times, preferring instead to examine what situations people are actually in and what might genuinely benefit them the most. Consequently, he is a bit of a cold fish, but nevertheless, he is respected as a loyal friend and very conscientious public benefactor. Okay, now, Socratic philosophers would usually say that only Paul really exhibits excellences of character, right? Because it's only he who is exercising his rational faculty, and we might even say exercising the art of living well. Okay, I'll call a halt there, and we'll see what you have to say.
Who wants to open it up with the first theme? Yeah, please.
The first theme is morality, would that be correct? Morality.
It's whatever you bring up,
Okay.
whatever you put forward.
The whole idea that doing the right thing and believing in the right thing leads to excellence kind of, to me, bleeds over to the subjective, because you can ruin your life by doing the right thing. You can ruin your subjective life by doing the right thing, and often people choose to do the wrong thing to protect those other areas of excellence that are more subjective. I think of I don't know whether the Assange is a folk hero now, or whether Wikipedia leaks have the same relevance of, say, the Pentagon Papers. But the Wikipedia leaks, you have a person who is losing their freedoms. The rape allegations aside, is maybe losing his freedoms because of doing what he thinks is the right thing, or maybe he isn't. Maybe he has other motivations that we don't know about. But I've forgotten the name of the fellow who released the Pentagon Papers, which said what the government really knew about what was going on in Vietnam and how important that was. Yet it had incredible implications on his life. It was the right thing to do.
Yeah, and in general, the case of whistleblowers.
And whistleblowers, yes. Yeah.
Right, who, perhaps sacrifice their jobs,
Yeah.
make things difficult for their family, and generally have a lot of insults thrown at them, etc.
Yeah.
Right, and you're saying that they are sacrificing the subjective side of their life
Yes.
in order to maintain moral principles.
Yes.
Right.
Anyone else want to dip into that theme and issue?
Can you use a microphone, please?
Oh, yeah. You should sum up what.
Go ahead.
I just did.
I want to say, now hear you on the back.
Did you hear? Or yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
If you're interested in this.
Well, the idea I get out of this is that,
Just speak very loudly.
is that most of these ideas are kind of pertained in a cosmopolitan theory of self-fulfilling prophecies. That if you want something, if you have enough mental aptitude and perseverance with it, you can achieve it. Although compromise must be made because you can't rely on other people within your life to share that same ideology. In the fact that you can keep the moral high ground consistently, but it can leave you alienated from certain goals. Because other people won't see it the same way, and you have to compromise for other people, inevitably to enable them to still be a part of your life in the end, right?
Right. I think what you're pointing to is if you're going to have friends and be influential with people, you're going to have to compromise your principles, because you can't expect to have agreement, a complete agreement by others on those principles, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so once again, it's an argument for saying that, well, let's moderate this morality requirement, right? Because in the one case you're sacrificing your subjective happiness, and in the other case you're really sacrificing your ability to interact and be influential with other people. Have I fairly stated your point there?
Well, I'd say so, but that's the supreme dilemma with this theorization, right? Is that how can you apply it to the realities of an individual situation?
Well, maybe we could have some more remarks on what people think about this compromising your principles as perhaps a necessary part of living excellently, or at least living a better life.
Yeah, go ahead.
May I offer a comment currently or recently?
If you would do it in
Okay,
short
address-
snippets,
yes.
and then he can repeat
Sure.
the chorus.
President Obama pulled back on a request for cutting tax breaks to the wealthy in order to bring more Republicans on side to forward other parts of his agenda.
Yes. Did everybody hear that? He's just citing President Obama, despite the fact that Obama actually promised to rescind those tax cuts for the rich, saw that if he was to make any progress on getting a tax bill through Congress, he was going to have to compromise on that. He was going to have to give way on that. Right.
You want to say more about that?
No, I think that addresses the issue about compromising where each situation requires some measure of compromise. Now, then we have to make the choice on what we will give to achieve our greater goal.
Yeah. Yeah, so you have to prioritize your goals, I guess, and sometimes you have to sacrifice lesser goals, even goals which you've promised to fulfill, in order to achieve the greater goal. It's a kind of utilitarian perspective, really. That is, you see how you can achieve the most good, right? And then you proceed to make the compromises which are necessary in order to do that. But the utilitarian would think that, indeed, this was the real proper moral course of action, right?
It is excellent to compromise.
It's excellent to compromise, right? Given the situation and in the case, right?
Whose good is it, oops, sorry, whose good is it in the long run? And whose, is it his or the people's?
You're talking about Obama?
No, I'm talking in general now.
In general. Well, presumably, let's make it a case where the person isn't selfish. He's just trying to achieve noble social goals, like, relief of poverty, increase in employment, etc. And he decides that to achieve that, he's willing to compromise these other goals that he has. Right? I mean, it's a matter of, as I say, of prioritizing and letting the less valuable give way to the more valuable. And you see, again, there's something very Socratic about this, in that the utilitarian is trying to exercise a kind of art here, right? As he sees the art is having these goals, these goods, which he can hope to achieve, and then seeing how best to achieve them, or at least achieve the greater ones, right? And so there's a kind of art there. He's exercising that art. He's exercising his rational faculty. So maybe he is living excellently, even though he has sacrificed to some extent what we might think of as moral principles, like keeping promises.
Gentleman down here.
Yes, well, my confusion based out of this is that I wanted in here and I was curious about this. Is this primarily from the aspect that it's an intellectual kind of mulling of old ideas, or is it a theorization, or is this, in the most basic sense, a self-help workshop? Because the literal definitions of some of these ideas is that how does it work to each individual in here's life? And what goals do people desire to achieve that brought them here today to listen to you speak about this and then speak with others about it? Do they learn new things, or do they just get a foundation in the fact that a lot of people believe in the things that they already thought were right, or their complete rebirth or epiphanization, if you will?
So his question is, what can we expect to get from this discussion, or this, right? And I'm tempted to quote Protagoras here, as Plato quotes him in the dialogue, and say, well, I say that if you come here regularly, you will become better and better every time you come. And in the end, you will live a better life. But that Plato put that into the mouth of Protagoras, ironically, of course. I mean, he's actually portraying Protagoras as a kind of